It is NFL draft week. We are only 4 days away from the NFL draft. Now, I took a few weeks break just because there wasn't much going on in the football world and there wasn't much to talk about. But over the last week or so, one of the biggest stories surrounding the NFL and the NFL draft has been what is going to happen with Deebo Samuel, as he has requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. He no longer wants to play there, and apparently it's not due to money. So the only other thing we could assume is that he doesn't want to play in that kind of offense anymore. He doesn't want to be used as a running back, but we don't really know. He hasn't come out and said it. He's been liking tweets on Twitter. Then there's all these jokes coming out about like, oh, he posted this on his Instagram story, which so it's like at this point it's really hard to see what's even true and what's not. But it does seem as if Deebo Samuel wants to move on for the San Francisco 49ers. Now we are going to have to wait and see if they are going to be willing to trade him. I believe he has 2 years left on his contract or 1 year left on his contract and then 2 years that they could tag him. So the 49ers definitely, have to be willing to trade Deebo Samuel for him to move on in the first place. But over the last few seasons, basically ever since that Le'Veon Bell, when he held himself out, teams do seem to be a little bit more willing to trade players who request it. They seem that they want to, get something back instead of just, wasting that player, for a season or two and then not getting anything for him and he moves on. Because players seem like they're willing to sit out for a long time. So I do expect the 49ers to trade Deebo Samuel if he's really set in stone on not playing for them anymore. And, of course, one of the biggest players, if the 49ers were to trade Deebo Samuel, has been the New York Jets, which are my favorite team. I make a lot of New York Jets videos. It's my favorite team to cover. And I think that if Deebo Samuel is traded, I think the New York Jets are probably one of the biggest players. We saw the Packers sign Sammy Watkins. They've been a personal link to Deebo Samuel. But let's be honest, the San Francisco 49ers, even if they move on for Deebo Samuel, are going to still consider themselves playoff threats. We saw it last year when no one really expected them to do anything. And they went and beat the Packers. And with the Packers being in the NFC and potentially being a competitor for the 49ers in their eyes, I don't think that they'll be willing to trade Deebo Samuel there. So then you have to look at some AFC teams. And I just don't think there's any other team that's going to be willing to give up as much as the New York Jets are. And if Deebo Samuel really wants out, the 49ers are going to have to get a good trade package back. And what better trade package you're going to get than the number 10 overall pick? That is the only trade I see the New York Jets doing. I see a lot of 49ers fans saying that they want the number 4 overall pick and a second-round pick in this year's draft. That is absolutely absurd. Deebo Samuel is only 2 years younger than Tyreek Hill, and the New York Jets got a trade accepted by the Kansas City Chiefs for 2 second-round picks. So it's absolutely ridiculous these 49ers fans think they hold that much leverage, because Deebo Samuel will hold out and will not play for you. It's something that we've seen already in the NFL, and I think they just think that they have all the leverage in this situation when the 49ers have no leverage, because Deebo Samuel doesn't have to play. He could retire at this point if he really doesn't want to play that bad. So the 49ers, I really think they're going to give up whatever or try to get back as much as they can. And I think the number 10 overall pick is going to be well more than anyone else is going to be willing to give up, because any other team that's going to be willing to trade for him doesn't have a better pick than the New York Jets. So now you got to look at the New York Jets. Are you willing to give up the number 10 overall pick? If that's all the 49ers are asking for, I think you have to give up the number 10 overall pick, because it's been rumored for weeks now that the New York Jets are going to take a wide receiver with that number 10 overall pick. I've said number 10 overall pick so many times. I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but that's like the main, storyline, the 10 pick for Deebo Samuel. But it's been rumored for weeks that the New York Jets are going to select that wide receiver. And I'm sorry, I like taking proven over a risk, and you don't know if any of these wide receivers are going to be standouts in the NFL. It just doesn't happen that often. Or it doesn't always happen. So that's always, the risk you're taking with the draft. Now, there has been some injury concerns with Deebo Samuel and some other concerns. Maybe he only had one good season. However, the one season he had was unbelievable. And, you don't have a fluke season like that in the NFL. When you see a fluke season, it's, a bad player who has a good season, not a good player who had a great season like Deebo did. It's just if that's the route you're deciding, if it's, you want to take a number 10 overall pick wide receiver, or if you want to trade for Deebo Samuel, you have to take Deebo. Now, if the 49ers are, really don't want to trade him and they're like, you have to give us the number 4 in the second round pick, like these 49ers fans are saying, then you don't do that, right? It's just too much to give up for a player like that. And then you'd have to look at for the New York Jets to potentially take a wide receiver. Now, let's look at some of the wide receivers on the board for the NFL draft. Number 1, wide receiver, it's kind of been a toss-up, but my personal number 1 receiver in this draft is Garrett Wilson. Now, there's a lot of rumors that he won't even be there at number 10 for the Jets anymore. It seems like maybe the Falcons or potentially even the Eagles could take him with a trade-up or something. So I think Garrett Wilson is the best overall wide receiver in the draft. I think he's going to be the most NFL ready. I loved him at Ohio State. And I think he'd be a great fit for the New York Jets offense to begin with. Basically, I think all these wide receivers are going to be great fits for the New York Jets because you take a look at Drake London. Drake London is going to give something that the New York Jets receiving room really doesn't have, and that's size. Obviously, Drake London is a massive human being. He is, a great route runner. Struggled a little bit at USC, I believe, this season. It wasn't, his greatest season. I think he had an injury as well. But overall, I think, again, if you can't get Deebo Samuel, he's going to be a great pick. Basically, any wide receiver, like I just said, is going to be a great pick for the New York Jets, just to add a little bit more depth to that receiving room. This going into the season right now, we only have Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, Corey Davis, Denzel Mims. A little thing that I think other Jeff fans are not going to like. I think Denzel Mims actually has a pretty good season. I don't think he's going to be a great player like people were hoping for one day, but I think he's going to have a really solid season. Hopefully he gets that playbook or whatever it was last season over, and he just hits the books, hits the gym, because he looks like a mess. I don't know if you saw the pictures of him training with the other wide receivers and Zach Wilson, but he looked absolutely massive. Looks like he was like a completely different person. So I think he's hitting this offseason hard. I'm excited to see what he could do. But again, you just have to take a wide receiver, try to surround your young quarterback with as much talent as possible. Overall, I think Deebo Samuel is going to be the best way to go. It's just going to be a question of whether the 49ers are realistically going to be giving up Deebo Samuel, or they're going to do one of those things like, oh, we'll trade you, but no one's giving us what I want. And basically them wanting, the number 4 overall pick and a second round pick. It's just ridiculous. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Deebo Samuel is going to be traded, or do you think the 49ers hold on with him and he potentially holds out? Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel so much, and enjoy the rest of your day, guys.